Hello, students. This is Scotty Gex. I'm the instructor for the Soil and Erosion ER 101 and also the Introduction to Grades GR 101. I want to talk about the tailgate. The discussion board is a generic name. We coined ours the tailgate after the meetings at the field site in the mornings before you begin the day's task, where you go over safety and the task, who's going to be doing what, and everything that needs to be noted, barricades that need to be put up, warning signs for overhead power line, all of that stuff was went over at before work was started. Usually the foreman or the superintendent would open up his tailgate, and that would be the desk, and all of us hands would gather around, and that's where he spread out the plans. And so we decided to adopt that name for our discussions, the tailgate. Last year I kept thinking, uh, I worked hard. Let me. This is not about me, but I did some work on my tailgates. Or my discussions, we can put it that way if you like, uh, over the past few weeks, and kind of brought them up to what I thought would be more challenging. And I thought it was time, as time has gone by, the last couple of years, tailgates have been misunderstood, I think, and I think there's a lack of understanding of how we participate. We have a lot of rules, we have a lot of requirements, but I'm not sure we're quite getting the message across of what we're looking for. So as you can see, I have a tailgate up, and I think it's an actual tailgate. I don't see a week or a title to it, but it's about erosion, I think. I'm looking at this link right here, and it's talking about, it comes from the NRDC. That's a part of the all part of the EPA, I believe, or uh, at least attached to it, and they're concerned about soil erosion worldwide as it applies to crops and things like that. But that's where I'm going to start, right here. This is a link to an article. And if you see right here, I have a little bit of background here. It talks about hiking that, and this comes right out of that article. Hiking through the woods, drive by a cornfield or mow our lawns. We tend to focus on plants, blooming flowers, tassel top stalks of corn, and the green grass borders. But what about the dirt? It seems soil is one of the planet's most underappreciated natural resource. Yet uh, healthy soil is the foundation for agriculture. It also plays a vital role in protecting the air we breathe, the water we drink, the food we eat, and even our climate. Now, I'm starting to explain myself. This introduction was taken from an article from the Natural Resource Defense Council, and it's written by this guy named Keith Mulville. And it says below is a link to the article. Now, think about this. If I didn't want you to read that article, or if I thought we didn't need that article, do you think I would have put that link in there? If you go through a tailgate and there's a link to an article, it's in there for a reason. It needs to be read before you can accurately participate in the discussion, or it wouldn't be in there. So the next thing we come across, all of this up here is just, this is like in every tailgate, engage in our weekly tailgate discussion, deepen your learning, and connect with peers and instructors on key topics. Now, this is just an attempt to uh, get you to understand that I want your attention, inspired by the camaraderie and exchange of insights at traditional tailgate meetings. That's what I was talking about early on the job site. Our goal is to cultivate a thriving online community focused on constructive dialogue and shared growth. Now, this foreman, he's building a community over time. You have crews that become cohesive. And as time goes by, the new people come in and you show them what to do, but they become cohesive and they make a team. Therefore, they become more safe and more productive. Okay. The tailgate discussion is our attempt to create as much community as we can in an online environment, plus to actually go beyond the test, beyond the essays and quizzes and those kinds of things, and actually get into a discussion about the subject matter. Uh, I haven't participated in as much as I could or should, and I hope to make changes in that. So, but right now, we're going over what we're expecting from you in a tailgate. So it talks about the introduction, and guess why I mentioned his name? Because it needs to be cited, or else I could be plagiarizing. I could be accused of plagiarism. But if I cite the author, then that lets me use this information. Okay, so let's say we'll get to this in a minute. If we have to, we'll open it. So here are my instructions, and that's one thing I want to work real hard on, is not just getting you to understand how to participate in a tailgate, but for me to get better at telling you what I'm expecting of you. So let's look at these instructions. Following the tailgate requirements, post. Now, what does that mean? Following the tailgate requirements. So I'm just saying you need to follow the tailgate requirements. So by following these tailgate requirements, I want you to post your initial first response and second response as described before. There's three things I've mentioned: your initial response, your first response to another student, and your second response to another student as described below. And here is my below description. All right. What is erosion? That's just me. I put that there. Now, for your initial post, one, you need to talk about the author's definition or description of erosion. Okay, let's stop right there. How can you do that without reading what the author wrote, right? You can't. So these are my prompts. I want you to talk about the author's definition or description of erosion. In there is a description and a definition that he thinks should be describe erosion. So you have to find that. There's no other way around it. You got to go back in that article and find it, or because you can't talk about it if you don't know what it is. Okay. In addition, I want you to, I put a little two there. What does the author say about the difference between weathering and erosion? I have read the article. I know what the author said is the difference between weathering and erosion, but I want you to know it. So that's a prompt. You need to answer that question in your own way. You can get it from the article itself. And the third thing I want from your initial post is, what do you think the author means by rate of erosion? And give us some variables that this rate would depend on. Okay, think about that. You can go back in that article and you can find that. You can do Control F or whatever you want to do to find that, but he'll be talking about that. But when it says rate, that has to do with feet per second, velocity, let's say. So we know it's how fast something's happened. Rate of erosion, how quickly is it eroding? That gives us clues. And give us some variables that this rate would depend on. Now, if you know what it is, something's eroding, what would cause it to erode? It would be not just rain, but it would be the stormwater flow, how fast it's flowing. This is when you take over, and this tells me you read that article. This tells me you understood something, you learned something from it. So these are the things you need to do. You can't just wing this initial post. I'm asking you specifically what the author's definition is. What does the author say about the difference between weathering? And what do you think the author means by rate of erosion? And give us some variables that this rate would depend on. This is not something that happens to be in your way of this associate degree. This is part of obtaining that associate's degree. This is important. I weight these discussions at 25% of your grade. That is the highest rated assignment that you have to do is a discussion. Okay, so now here's your first response to another student, right? Right here. Now, again, here's some prompts. Talk about the causes of erosion. Well, rain's one, right? Wind's another one, And don't just say rain and wind. I'm not going to accept that. How does rain cause erosion? How does wind affect the soil that would make it erode? The author says that erosion occurs primarily when dirt is left unexposed to strong winds, hard rain, and flowing water, and in some cases, human activities. Now, you can write that down. I don't care, in this case, but here's what I do care about, where the number 2 is sitting right there after human activities. Tell me some human activities that would contribute to erosion. In your experience, have you ever had to address erosion issues? No, yes, or no. If you have, talk about it. If you haven't, tell me that you haven't, but why haven't you, for goodness sakes? You've been in construction. Maybe you haven't, and that might be a good way to say that. This is my first time I've ever even been exposed to site preparation, That's okay. So, but if you have dealt with it, can you talk about it? Now, notice this right here. This is talking to another student. This is not talking to the air around you. This is talking to another student. So call the name out of who you want to talk to. George, listen. What I feel like some of the causes of erosion are like the author says, that erosion occurs primarily in dirt and things. It also won't, but I can't come up with any human activities. I can't imagine what we do that would contribute to erosion, But what we do as humans is we build things, and when we prepare a site for construction, we take all the organics off that site. Organics are vegetation. So we expose the surface to the elements. So humans contribute by building, one thing, how do we farm? We had to go through a dust bowl before we started learning how to farm and without losing all our topsoil. And then I asked for you to talk to another student. And I specifically ask you to talk about the environmental impact of erosion. And the last thing under your second response is using your experience and given our discussion, tell me in detail and with example when possible what the following statement means to you. And that statement is unmitigated. Severe soil erosion can result in the loss of food crops and negatively impact community resiliency. If you don't know what a word means, look it up. And livelihoods, and even alter ecosystems by reducing biodiversity. If you don't know what that means, look it up. Above, within, and below the ground. Now, you can come up with a lot of things, and I don't care if you Google, like how does erosion negatively impact the community resiliency and livelihood. I don't care if you do that. Take you what, 30 seconds, but I don't care because it 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 talks about this in that article. So the thing to do is read the article. Okay, now we've gone through the 3 posts. This is going to happen every time. If you leave out one of these posts, and notice I put up an announcement talking about this, I want you to label your initial post. I want you to label your first response to another student, your first response to another student. I want you to label your second response to another student. I want you to call it second response to another student. Now, when you finish that, I will assume that you're done. And when I mean by done, that you're not going to post anymore, right? If you are going to, then after that second response, hey, I'm in the middle of a video. Let me call you back. Uh, so, where was I? Got a phone call. I got accidentally answered it. So, after you talk about this, this is the last required post. Now, if you want to talk some more, let me know. You can continue this response, but don't think I'm going to discover what your initial post is. If you don't call it your initial post, I'm going to say that you don't have an initial post. If you just start writing something, which I despise, know what you're going to say before you say it. My first tailgate I graded today had a lot of this stuff in it. And, so I gave the student some credit because he did talk about some of these things. But it was in one paragraph, and I'm not going to sit there and try to pull out the things I wanted. That's your job. I want you to pull out where you talk about the causes of erosion, where you talk about the author's definition. I don't want it to be in the middle of a 300-word paragraph. Okay, you got it? All right. Now, I'm doing this and I'm talking loud so you can hear me, and I'm talking loud because I want you to get this. This is important. And I feel like that I haven't really, like I'm doing now, taken the time to really explain how to participate in this. I'm telling you what you're going to do right here. You're going to have an initial post, right? But I'm not talking about it like I talked about this one, am I? Now your initial post, I'm probably going to have something to say about what you're put in there. Or I might just say, I want you to tell me what the author meant by, I want you to tell me something in there that got your attention. I might have something like that for prompts. These are prompts. When I say prompts, I'm talking about this. I'm talking about this. I'm talking about this. Those are all what I wanted to know about in the initial post. This is all what I want to know about when you talk to that other students. When you said, "Hey, George, uh, what do you think about the prompt where he asked talk about the causes of erosion?" I know a few. I read through the article. I found a few, and here they are. And do you have any? Did you find anything in here? Guess what that is called? That is called a discussion. When two people start exchanging ideas, this is a discussion. This assignment is a discussion. And that's the way I want to do it. Okay, so you may get tired of seeing this, but this is to remind you you will need an initial post and you will need to submit it no later than Tuesday at 11:59 p.m. Eastern. I got Eastern Standard Time, but mine is Central Standard Time. The reply post, that's to the other students. First reply is due. That's first reply to another student, and that's how I want you to label it. First reply due by Thursday at 11:59 p.m. Again, it's Central Standard Time when it comes from me. Second reply complete by Sunday at 11:59, wherever you live. But for my courses, they're all Central Standard. And we follow that up with expectations, we're calling them here. And I got to go back and look at, as I go through this course, I'll look at my tailgates and I will see if I can come up with clearer ways to put things. But timeliness and engagement, this is what we're looking for. Expectations, that's what it means. It means, what do you expect of me? Or what I expect of you. On time, meet these times. Engagement. Aim for early and regular contributions rather than last minute posting. Active participation is the key to building a dynamic learning environment. That's engagement. The quality of what you say, the quality of your posts, the the quality of your contribution. Go beyond minimum requirements by focusing on the richness of your engagement. Give this some thought. This is not something that we take lightly, and I don't want you to take it lightly either. Posts that foster meaningful dialogue of value over mere quantity. In other words, like that paragraph, and that the student I probably knows who I'm talking about, but don't take this in the wrong way. It's just I don't think you understood, and that's what got me to making this. What I'm expecting and what these things mean, and what a prompt is, and so forth and so on, and how I need it clearly defined as initial response, first response to another student, second response to another student. And as I said earlier, if you've done all those three, that's all that's required. This goes on to say adheres to prompts. In other words, directly with the prompts, addressing each aspect thoroughly, those prompts that we looked at earlier. Substantive replies elevate the discussion with insightful responses that move beyond just acknowledging. Hey, George, that looks good. I think you're right. Well, what makes it look good? Why do you think George is right? To offer new perspectives or constructive feedback. Or, George, I think you're wrong, and here's why. Professionalism in communications. Number one thing that these employers want out of their new hires is the ability to talk, to communicate. That goes beyond talking. Present your ideas with the formality and precision of academic writing. In other words, I'm going to be looking at your grammar, your sentence structure, and all those things. It's not an English class, but I want you to be able to write. Etiquette, conduct, we're all grown-ups here. Mutual respect is our motto around here. Grading insights, your contributions will be evaluated based on the depth of engagements, adherence to discussion prompts, timeliness, and quality of interaction with peers. Strive for posts that are reflective, analytical. In other words, you've thought about something, analyze it, and contribute to what we're doing. There's details on this on the homepage in the link called the Tailgate. But I think I'm going to try to figure out how to post this on an announcement. I think it can be done. I'm going to get it in your module somehow, because I want every one of you to read this, copy it down, and especially what I'm looking for right here. These are prompts, and that's what I'm asking you to talk about. So I'm not giving you the free reign. If I was, I'd say, tell me something about the article that you didn't like. Tell me something about the article. I'm getting real specific right here. And sometimes I'll loosen this up a little bit. And then sometimes I'll just say, fine, what did you find about the article that you don't understand? What did you know? The three things I understand, one or two I don't, that kind of stuff. But anyway, I'm going to shut this video down. I'm going to figure out how to get it to you, and I'm hoping that it'll open this up a little bit where we can start having some really good discussions. I value each and every one of you as a student and as a person. I want you to be successful, and I want to do what I can to help you achieve your goals.